Hi there! In this video you will learn how much is it to travel Russia on a budget, taking my own trip around Russian Far East as an example. My name is Niki and I am a huge travel enthusiast. I travel on a budget, relatively low budget, and last 2 months I spent roaming around Russian Far East. Exactly 53 days on the way. I counted every single penny I spent, every single dollar, and I'm about to share it with you. But before I get started, look at this beautiful and dark cup of coffee. Yeah, that's coffee. Some time ago, I started this coffee talk series where we discuss stuff about traveling, countries, budgeting, and so on. And the idea is I'm just making a video while having one single cup of coffee. Then I stopped doing it, and now we are getting back to this idea again, thanks Dan K from Detroit, who asked if I continue doing this. So let's get started with the question, how much is it to travel Russia? I traveled around Russian Far East for 53 days. I started in Vladivostok on September the 3rd. I traveled all the major cities on the way from Vladivostok, my starting point, to Baikal Lake, and I passed such cities like, again, Vladivostok, Khabarovsk, Blagoveshchensk, Chita, Ulan-Ude, and finally I got to Baikal Lake, the final point of my Russian Far East journey. So these 53 days altogether I spent, let me see here, I spent $392 for everything, that is for accommodation, transportation, food, 3 major travel expenses, and the rest of the stuff. And basically in this video I just summarize all my expenses and give you a few tips how could you save money traveling Russia. Because $392 for 53 days of travel is, I think you will agree, that is a very low amount of money. Let's start with the first, accommodation. Altogether, I spent for accommodation $80. And if you have a question, how the heck could I do that for 53 days of trip? That's a good question. I didn't stay anywhere fancy. I actually didn't stay at hotels at all. There are a few more budget-friendly places to stay if you are actually traveling on a budget. So first I stayed at hostels. The concept is very simple. It is a hotel room that you share with other people. Like this, you just need to pay less money, and it also could be more entertaining if you don't really care about your privacy while staying. It's comfortable for solo travelers or young couples, but if you're a senior traveler, perhaps it's not the way. But anyway, that's how I did it. Overall, I stayed at hostels for 14 nights, and I paid $80 for all these nights, mainly in Vladivostok city and also in the city of Ulan-Ude. The rest of the time I paid nothing for my accommodation. Yeah, it's possible with such website like Couchsurfing. It's not the only place where you can find free accommodation while traveling, but it's my favorite. And if you never heard about it, go check it out, couchsurfing.com. It is a community of travelers. Basically, you can find people from all over the world there. And the idea works like this. I live in Siberian town, and if somebody from another country, let's say, comes to my hometown, then he or she can make a request through website asking local people either to show around or to host the traveler for a couple of nights. Again, it's all for free. That's how I saved a lot of money on my journey around Russian Far East and also many other trips to other countries. Overall, my accommodation expenses look like this. I stayed at a hostel entire time in Vladivostok. When I came to Khabarovsk, I stayed with the Couchsurfing family for about 6 nights. In Blagoveshchensk, the next destination, I stayed with the Couchsurfing host family for 5 nights. In Chita, it was 3 long weeks of Couchsurfing stay, and in Ulan-Ude, I stayed at a hostel. Oh, and also near Baikal Lake, I also stayed 1 night through Couchsurfing. You see, this part of traveling could be actually really cheap. But if Couchsurfing or hostels is not an option for you, I understand, and here is a range of prices for an ordinary hotel rooms in Russia. Expect to pay something like $15 to $25 a night for a simple hotel room, or anything above $25 for something fancier. Well, next one, transportation. During this trip, I visited 5 major cities on the way and also some places around them, and altogether for transportation I spent $127 American, which includes transportation between the cities and also public transport at one single city. Once again, $127 for 53 days of traveling is not much. I think you agree with me. And how I managed to do that? When I needed to roam around one city, I didn't use taxi, I just checked Russian apps for finding public transport, and it worked well for me. I used buses, I used marshutkas, such kind of mini buses in Russia, and when I needed to travel between the cities, I just took the cheapest train possible. Altogether, I took 5 trains from Vladivostok to Khabarovsk, then to Blagoveshchensk, to Chita, to Ulan-Ude, and to Baikal Lake, and it didn't cost me a fortune. Third part of expenses: food. For 53 days, I spent 171 American dollars for food. It is literally for everything that I was eating and drinking along my way. The biggest part of food expenses was actually grocery shopping. $95 I spent for supermarkets, for buying some groceries, and that is the way that I save money along my way. I do not go to restaurants too often, and I prefer to cook at hostels or at Couchsurfing host families, because there are really nice kitchens and opportunity to do that. At restaurants, or I rather say canteens, I spent $55, and if you go to a Russian canteen, an average lunch would cost you about $3 to $5. If you go to a restaurant, it will be something like $5 to $10 per person. It's actually very cheap in Russia, and if you can afford to spend more money, you just feel yourself free to go to restaurants like literally every single time. It's not that expensive again, but I wanted to travel with a way much lower budget, and that's how I did it. Then another part of food expenses is coffee and alcohol. I spent $26 for that. Basically getting sometimes few beers or wine and coffees, and that's all what I spent for food. Once again, that is 171 American dollars for 53 days of travel. Nice. And the fourth part of expenses, just anything else. And it is a very short list for me. I just bought 2 additional things on my way. First, it was a 4G SIM card for 2 months. Altogether, I paid $6 for that. Yeah, internet and 4G in Russia is really cheap. It's a good part of living here. And second thing that I bought was an umbrella. I paid $8 for that, and that umbrella sucked. It was broken 5 minutes after using it, and I got a replacement for that, and it works perfectly fine even now. Yeah, so that's all, $14 what I spent besides transportation, food, and accommodation. Overall, what I wanted to say in this video, that traveling on a budget is possible in Russia if you know how to save up your money. With accommodation, you can save some money staying at hostels and couch surfing. With transportation, you can save some money by using public transport. You can use Russian app 2GIS for finding all the roads in every Russian city. And when you travel between the cities, you just use Russian railway app for finding the cheapest tickets. Or you also can check some airplane tickets. Sometimes they are actually even cheaper than trains. And food in Russia also doesn't cost much. Either you buy it at supermarkets or you go to canteens or restaurants. Depends how much money you can afford to spend every single day. Yeah, I hope one day you will come Russia, because why would you watch this video if you don't want to come Russia and see how beautiful it is in winter, or how gorgeous it is in summer too. If you have any questions about the stuff that I shared in this video, or the stuff that I didn't cover in this video, just write it under the video. I'll see every single comment and I'll answer it. And hit that like button if this video was useful or interesting to you, and come back to my channel again for such coffee talk videos or for travel vlogs from Russia and other countries on my way. Cheers! Oh, the coffee is actually cold now. So cold outside.